Good morning and welcome to another edition of Katha Petti. I thrown my dice and my dice has given me 4 on my first throw, which means I can have 4 characters. And on the second throw, also I got a 4, which means that I'm limited by using only animals as my characters this time. I've picked my characters. I've also picked my scenic props and my uh, symbolism prop. And here I begin my story. In a desert in a faraway land, they lived 2 friends, the camel and the cockerel. They were friends who knew each other for many years and they shared all their dreams and their aspirations with each other all the time. And their biggest dream was to go off on a holiday together and explore a world beyond the desert that they lived in. They had heard about a far off land which had mountains with some white cold stuff that covered it, and they also heard that it was called snow, but they'd never seen it because they lived in a desert which was hot and humid, and their desire was to go on a trip and see the snow. So one day the rooster had a very bad day at the house that he was living in, and the camel was also being treated very badly by his owner, so they decided to run away. And they decided to run away to a place where they would excuse me, they decided to run away to a place that they longed to go to, which was the snow-capped mountains. And they made a plan and they said, let's leave. But the rooster was a little worried. The rooster said, but camel, how am I going to travel with you alone? How am I going to walk this distance? Because there are going to be foxes and wolves and things like cats on the way which might try to attack and eat me. So the camel said, don't you worry, just get on my back. I'm going to carry you through this journey. And they began to walk, and they got out of their village and they began to see how different the terrain was, how different the landscape was. Things were green. It was not this arid brown that they were seeing in their desert all the time. The winds were not as gusty and didn't blow as much dust into the camel's eyes. And they walked and walked and walked, and finally they started to see mountains emerging in front of them, and then they saw a snow-capped mountain in front of them, and it was covered in white, and they were so shocked and they were so amazed and they were thrilled and they cheered and clapped and they said, oh my god, now we really need to begin to climb that mountain and see and touch the snow and see what it feels like. But what the camel had forgotten was that he is not used to climbing up a mountain. So as they began to walk, they began to tire and they were climbing up the mountain, and then they really were at pretty much the low foothills, and they realized that the camel was not made to climb this mountain. So the camel told the rooster, listen, cockerel, I think I'm getting really tired and I'm not able to walk this is really steep for me. So maybe, and it's also getting dark, so let's kind of take some rest today and figure out how we're going to do this tomorrow. So cockerel said, yes, I agree too. I'm also quite tired and exhausted after the journey, so let's take some rest. And then they came down and they were walking into the forest, and it was a very cold and chill forest, and the breeze in the forest was very, very different. It had like a kind of cold that could go into your bones. And all the animals in the forest were chirping, and there was a lot of unease. It felt like something was not right. They felt that something was warning them. There were sounds of loud shrieks, and the crickets were trying to say something to them, and they just didn't know what was happening, but they decided that they'll have to find a place to rest. So as they began to walk, they saw a house which they saw a light. They weren't sure if it was a house. They could see a shadowy light that was of a kind of a structure of a house, but they saw a light coming from a place. So they decided to walk closer to the light. And as they were walking closer to the light, the crescendo of sounds around them began to increase. The animals were shrieking more, the crickets were shrieking more, the parakeets and the birds were shrieking, but they continued to walk, and they walked, and then they saw that the door was left a little ajar. It was a house indeed, and the door was left a little ajar. It was a beautiful blue door. As they peeped in, they saw that there was a small plant, a tulasi plant, which was planted inside in the center yard, the courtyard of the house, and there were bright, beautiful lamps lit all around. So the camel and the rooster told each other that if this house looks so beautiful and has all this light, it definitely cannot be a place of any danger. And obviously all those animals shrieking like this was not to warn us, because maybe something else is happening there. And let's go in and see, maybe we can have some rest here and get maybe some water to drink. So the rooster said, "Yes, camel, let's go in." And then as they were about to step in, the crescendo of the shrieks increased. It was like something was amiss, but the animals were so tired and exhausted that they didn't want to pay any heed to it. So they got in to the house, and the minute they stepped in, the blue door slammed shut and all the lights went out. And then a huge gust of wind came, and the gust of wind picked the house up with it and started swirling the house inside it. And the animals inside, which is the rooster and the camel, began to scream at the top of their voices, saying, "Help, help, we are trapped, we are trapped." But nobody could hear them because the gust of wind was so loud and so scary. And then the gust of wind just went zoop past them, like, and carried the house with it. And the next thing they knew was that they were plonking into water. They felt water covering all of them, and they were wet and drenched. The animals were unsure of what was happening to them, and they didn't know what to expect, because and they didn't know how to swim either. So they were shrieking at the top of their voices, and they shrieked and shrieked, but nobody could hear them because it was so loud. All of a sudden they saw a lot of lights coming towards them in varied colors, and it was swimming to them very, very gently. And they saw that it was a fish, and it was a beautiful fish which had rainbow luminescence all around it. Every dot on that fish's body was glowing in the dark. And the fish spoke to them and said, "Hello, strangers, so you went into the house." And they said, "Oh yes, dear fish, please save us. I mean, we are just friends who've come on a trip, and we only wanted to see snow, and we were so tired after our journey. We weren't expecting this. Please save us, do something. We don't even know how to swim." So the fish said, "Don't worry, camel. I've put like a huge rock under you. You're standing fine right now. Just put the rooster on top of you. Rooster, stop flapping around in the water and get on top of the camel." So the rooster got on top of the camel, and the fish said, "Okay, now listen, I have very little time to tell you this, but that house you went into is the house of the master of this lake that you have landed in. And he is an ogre, a huge monster, and he loves to eat people. All those animals in the forest were warning you about not going into that house. Nobody walks into that forest past dusk, because it is where he hunts for his prey. And obviously you guys are new to this part of the world, and you didn't know this. Now listen to what I'm going to say very carefully. I'm going to give you a spell, and hold it. It's a golden nugget. Hold it in your hand and learn these magic words. The monster who's going to come to you is going to be very fierce. He's going to blow fire at you. He's going to be scary. He's going to roar at you. But do not forget what I'm going to teach you. Repeat this when he comes to you, and he will not be able to eat you. I am the caretaker of my monster, but I'm helping of the monster of this lake, but I'm helping you because you are animals, and we are all animals after all, aren't we? And so the rooster and the camel said, "Yes, yes, we will learn whatever you have to tell us. Teach us the magic spell." So the fish took out this nugget from under its fin and gave it to the camel and the rooster and said, "Now repeat after me. Mammatika juice, mammatika kishtapita kummatika juice, mammatika juice, mammatika kishtapita kummatika juice." The camel and the rooster looked at each other and they said, "You must be kidding us. What kind of silly poem is this? This doesn't even make any sense. What kind of spell is this? Does it even have any magic powers?" The fish got really angry. He said, "Okay, you can believe me if you want to, but otherwise you can be eaten up by the monster." So they were like, "Okay, okay, fine, sorry, we will repeat after you. What is it again? Tell us again what it was." So the fish says, "Mammatika juice, mammatika kishtapita kummatika juice, mammatika juice, mammatika kishtapita kummatika juice." And then the camel and the rooster still have a smile on their face because they think this is the most hideous poem or spell they've heard in their life. But anyways, they have to save their lives, so they end up by hearting it and they keep repeating it over and over again. And then the fish just disappears, because then the huge wave starts coming at them, a huge wave, and then they know that the monster's arriving. And he comes there with his large ears and a crown on his head and fierce eyes and a tusk coming out of his mouth. and his eyes are red, and he just crawls towards them, and he's coming there to eat them, coming there to eat them. And the the rooster and the camel hold on to their nugget, and they sing loudly, Mammatika juice, Mammatika ishtapeta Kummatika juice, Mammatika juice, Mammatika ishtapeta Kummatika juice. And as they keep repeating this, the monster is firstly looks very confused, and then he looks at them, and then he roars in laughter, and he says, oh my god, how did you learn this silly poem? So the it's the spell, the only spell that reminds me of who I used to be. I used to be a really good child. I turned into this monster because people started treating me so badly, and nobody would give me any food because of the way I look. But this was this little song that my mother would sing to me when I was a baby. And so can we sing it together if you don't mind, and then I will let you go, and I will let you go. What have you all come here for either ways? So the rooster and the camel also begin to laugh, and they say, oh, we come here to see snow. We come from this desert and we want to see snow. So the monster says, oh, I can take you back and put you at the top of the hill for you to touch the snow, because the camel says that he's having trouble trying to climb up the mountain with his long legs. But before you go, let's sing the song one more time. So they all sing in unison. Mammatika juice, Mammatika ishtapeta Kummatika juice, Mammatika juice, Mammatika ishtapeta Kummatika juice. And like that, the two friends find humor in their situation, learn a ridiculous song, and go back and see the snow, and are very happy, and walk back to their village after a few days. And when they walk back, they continue to sing Mammatika juice, Mammatika ishtapeta Kummatika juice. Thank you. With that, I finished my second story. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed making up this whole thing. Thanks.